2 of those jurors are lawyers. Is that unusual?
It's very unusual. Most lawyers don't want other lawyers on their juries for fear that they might second guess the judge or second guess what happened to the courtroom. But both of these lawyers are not trial lawyers. They don't do litigation. One of them said he's never been in a courtroom in his life until he walked in as a potential juror.
Judge, what does it say to you that we've got a judge and a district attorney who brought this case, and the judge presiding over this case, Juan Marchand, who, if they were called themselves to jury duty, they would be disqualified?
That's a very interesting observation. Most prosecutors, I hope this doesn't offend people, hate the defendants that they're prosecuting. They are not fair. They want to win. They think the defendant is guilty of everything that he's been charged with, and I'm going to guess that Alvin Bragg feels that way about Donald Trump. Most judges, if they have an opinion about the defendant, the law presumes that they can put that opinion out of their mind and be scrupulously fair. His legacy depends upon his fairness in this case.
I think many would argue that Donald Trump is the most famous person in the world.
Absolutely.
Everyone knows who Donald Trump is. So I think it would be very difficult to get an impartial jury, but that is ultimately the goal here. Obviously, some people, many people, have stepped away, have been dismissed. Here's one of those jurors who was dismissed yesterday. Take a look.
You went into the courtroom at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, and you see Donald Trump.
Yeah, we didn't know before that.
What was your first thought?
I was shocked. I was sitting on the second row, like 6 feet away. And when I realized that Trump is there, I was like, oh, wow. You know.
What was your impression of Donald Trump when you saw him?
You know, he looked less orange. Definitely, like more yellowish, like yellow. Nothing else than that. He looks...
So, Judge, we've got our 12 jurors, and every time I hear the jurors that were dismissed speaking, they sound like that. It sounds like what you see and hear on the streets in New York, a jurisdiction that voted 90% for Joe Biden and 94% for Hillary Clinton. Can Donald Trump really get a fair shake from a New York jury?
Okay, there was a time when you were entitled to a jury of your peers. That is not the case. You are entitled to a jury that fairly represents the community in which you are alleged to have committed the crime, basically Manhattan. That lady did not impress me with her intelligence, and I'm glad she's not on the jury. I was not there for the interrogation of the others. Remember, you don't want a perfect jury, you want a fair jury.
All right, I don't need a juror that's wearing a MAGA hat. We've got a couple on the list here. Juror number 7, a retired man married with 2 kids who's more interested in hobbies than in news regarding Trump. Sounds like somebody that could be impartial. Juror number 2, this is one of the replaced jurors yesterday. Married investment banker with a master's degree, follows Trump on social media and read Art of the Deal. Sounds like somebody that could give Trump a fair shake, because you got everybody else, you know, they walk in there with the New York Times under their arm, which telegraphs to the prosecution, hey, this might be our guy. Juror 1, the 4-person, is a man who works in sales, reads the New York Times, but follows Newsmax, Fox News, and the Daily Mail. So maybe, I mean, all it takes is one judge.
Yeah.
When the lawyers engage in this interrogation, they get 30 minutes per juror. They really can find out about how that juror thinks. And once they finish that interrogation, they confer with their colleagues. They say, this person's fine with me. And the government will say, I don't care if he's got a MAGA hat on, this person will be fair. The defense will say, I don't care if he watches MSNBC, this person can be objective. Not everybody is monolithic. And some people can say, I voted for him for president, but I can look at him fairly. I voted against him twice, but I can look at him fairly. You want the, I can look at him fairly.
Well, we hope that that is the case. As you said, it just takes one, and there could be at least several on this list.
Look, in 3 days, on Monday, our focus will be off the jury and on to what are the lawyers saying once they start with the opening arguments.
And
on
Judge,
Tuesday, our focus will be on contempt.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, our focus will be on the first witnesses the government puts up there.
And by the way, Trump could win the case. Right?
If Trump wins this case, it'll be such an unbelievable boon for him politically that he won it in this environment, which is decidedly politically anti-Trump.
Yeah,